Yes, I had a team of armed surveillance officers out behind Akehurst who led us to Wood, and the two of them travelled together to the industrial unit where they went inside. My officers heard what sounded like shots, which we believe was test firing, and very shortly afterwards out came Akehurst and Wood, and that's when the arrest took place. Both Akehurst and Wood decided that they would prefer to run rather than be arrested, and Akehurst was arrested pretty quickly. Wood went a little bit further and he ended up getting tasered by one of my officers. We then had Kinman, who walked out of the unit and was arrested without any fuss.
Firing!
Yeah, this investigation at the centre has an illicit factory for handguns, and it's the largest on mainland UK. Really unprecedented in the way that it's been set up and the reasons behind it.
The industrial unit was very messy indeed. It was stuffed full of equipment, parts, and all sorts of other bits and pieces. It took 3 days to search, and we found component parts for 121 firearms. Not enough to do a complete 121, but component parts that indicated that was the scale of ambition of manufacture at that time.
I would say a factory like this is practically a once-in-a-career defining moment. I don't expect to see another factory of the same quality as this one.
And just because these weapons were essentially homemade doesn't make them any less dangerous.
No, they don't. They are still lethal barreled weapons. They will still kill people.
Historically, we've seen there's been an exploitation around using reactivation of firearms or even firearms that are prohibited but easily modifiable to become lethal. But in this circumstance, these criminals have actually looked at themselves at an original firearm, in this case a Browning, and they have designed a build from the ground up.
This is unique. This has not happened before, to our knowledge, in the United Kingdom. Taking bits of metal and creating firearms from scratch is something we have not seen before in the United Kingdom.
Does that suggest that that is still happening somewhere else, or is it you just haven't discovered that, or is it too big of an operation for just anyone to do?
Right, we would, if there were other groups doing this, we would see the firearms on the market, and we haven't seen any more like this. So this is a group trying it out to see if it can make money for them and if it's attractive enough to the market. So yeah, they were just trying to see what they could make out of it.
Initially, one of the men, Mr. Wood, tried to claim that he was not involved in the running of this gun-making factory, but after hearing the prosecution case against him in open court, he changed his plea and accepted his role in the making and selling of these deadly weapons.
What was so attractive about the firearms they were producing?
They were quite simple, they were lethal, but they were untraceable. They had no serial numbers. It would be impossible to go back and work out who handled it previously or anything like that, because they were absolutely brand spanking clean, with no way of tracing them back.
And you already have some evidence, is that correct, of these firearms being used out on the streets?
Yes, we do. So far we're aware of 8 fully functioning firearms that were produced from there. 2 were taken from Akehurst and Wood on the day, and 6 have been recovered in law enforcement operations subsequently, one of which has been used in 2 shootings.
What would your message be to the local community in Hailsham? Because obviously this is a big thing, and it's quite worrying, isn't it? That these places that potentially are out there. So what would be your message to the local community now? Right,
there's a few messages here. The first is that, fortunately, firearms and firearms shootings are still comparatively rare in the United Kingdom. Compared with our European counterparts, absolutely, we're at a much lower scale. So it's still rare. Secondly, these factories just aren't happening everywhere. Like I say, this was fairly unique. But my third message is that if people have got information that they want to pass to law enforcement, they can do that through Crime Stoppers, and we'll take it from there. That's all we need, just the start point for intelligence, and then we will work it up and we will take the appropriate action.
Yes, directly in Hailsham itself, this particular setup has completely been closed down. It's very rare in that, as I've just said earlier, it's unprecedented and the first that we have seen in the UK. And we are working very closely with all our law enforcement and intelligence partners to focus on anybody who thinks this is a good idea, and we will relentlessly pursue those individuals. So, our job is to protect the general public, particularly in Sussex in this case.
The sentence reflects the gravity of this, the fact that this was not an academic exercise to see whether it's possible to reverse engineer a firearm. This was to produce guns that kill people. Simple as that.
As a result of the strong case built by the CPS, 2 serious criminals are now facing long prison sentences.